Hey guys, welcome to part 2 of using InDesign. I'm going to go through how to use the text and type features within this program because that's what you're creating in InDesign. You're doing publications and they usually involve a fair bit of type. I'm going to skip the front cover now. I'm going to go straight to page 2 and page 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide to create headings first, and then I'm going to show you guys how to create paragraph text. So I'm going to use the type tool here on the left on the toolbar, and I'm going to click and drag to create a type box. Usually for a paragraph, you make it the width of your column or the width of 2 columns or the width of 3 to keep it consistent. But I'm going to make it my heading about 2 columns wide like so. And just for now, I'm going to use the title heading. I can see right now, it's not the right size. It doesn't really stand out as a heading. So I'm going to highlight it. And using this toolbar above, I'm going to actually adjust this typeface. So I'm going to select an option from my drop-down menu. I'm going to use graphic. I'm going to make the typeface quite large. Let's make it about 38 just for the sake of it. And I'm going to make it semi-bold so it really stands out. I'm also going to adjust the tracking, so the spacing between each letter as a whole, just to give it a bit more breathing room and also create a bit more of an emphasis, because type that's spaced out makes it look a little bit interesting, a little bit different from what we normally read on the page. So that is how I've created my heading. If you had double lines for your heading, you could adjust the leading as well using this feature here. Let's say I want to create a heading on my second page like so. I'm creating the same width box using those green lines that pop up automatically. But I can see that it's reverted back to what it initially wrote my heading in, so that standard text that it comes with. I could try and replicate this exact heading each time by trying to remember what typeface I use, what size it was, what weight it was, what the leading was, and so forth. But I'm not going to do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the selection tool, so the black arrow. I'm going to click my original heading here on the left. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Window, and there's an option that says Styles, and I'm going to go to Character Styles. This panel will then pop up. At this moment, it says none. I'm going to create a new one by pressing Create New Style, so this square piece of paper folding over. So that's Character Style 1. I'm going to double click that, and this panel will pop up, and I'm going to label this Heading Type. And you can see if you click on Basic Character Formats, it's got the typeface that I've used, graphic, the weight style, the size, and the tracking that I've saved for that. And I'm going to hit OK. So what that has done is that it has saved my typeface and the settings. So if I click on this heading on the right, instead of having to resize it, I can simply just go to my character styles panel and click heading type, and it automatically adjusts it. And I could always change it back, and you can create multiple different character styles depending on what headings you have. You may have subheadings, you may have larger headings, and we can get into that later. But it's a very quick way of creating a style that you can then replicate across your whole design rather than having to remember particular details. Okay, I'm going to close that panel. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create some paragraphs. So I'm going to use my type tool again, and I'm going to create a paragraph that's 1 column width wide, and I'm going to select it all the way down to the bottom of the page. So now I've got a nice blank column that I could then type in. Because I don't have a document with me with all my written text, which hopefully you guys would have, I'm just going to use placeholder text for now. So I'm going to go to type, and then I'm going to go to the bottom where it says fill with placeholder text. And this is where lorem ipsum sometimes comes into play. And as we can see, it's filled up with placeholder text, which is a language that doesn't exist. It's just there to symbolize written content that will then go there. So right now I have 1 column. This is how my page is kind of looking if it was going to be printed, and I can go forth and adjust it. So let's say I've decided, you know what, this paragraph is way too long. I'm going to create a shorter looking paragraph to give some more space between the heading and the starting of my text, and to potentially add in an image later on. So I'm going to drag this paragraph down about halfway across the page. And we can see that pink line has popped up to symbolize the halfway point. And that's now the length of my paragraph. We can see here this red plus symbol. That means that there is more text that can't be seen currently because of the height of the paragraph. So what I can do is I can actually click that plus point, and now we can see that it's actually picked up the remaining text. So what I can do is I can then draw a new paragraph of the same height in this column, and it actually places the rest of that text. If I decide to make my paragraphs even shorter, I can select both of these like so using the selection tool, and I can adjust the height to make them even smaller. I can then select that plus symbol again and create a third column that finishes off that text. So now we can see I've turned one long column into 3 separate ones, and the text actually spills over, so it's 3 concurrent paragraphs rather than 3 separate ones. And if you adjust the first paragraph, you can see that it adjusts the text and how much is in each other little section that I've created. So this can be a really, really useful tool if you've got lots of text that you want to place on the page instantly and then rearrange it your own will. And then you can rearrange the paragraphs to be wherever along the page, depending on what particular style you're going for. All right. What I'm going to do now is, let's say I don't particularly like this text for my paragraph. I think it's a little bit boring to look at. I'm going to press Control A and it actually selects all the text across all 3 paragraphs. And I'm going to go to Window and I'm going to go to Styles. And now there's a one called Paragraph Styles. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new paragraph style. I'm going to double click Paragraph Style 1 and this panel has popped up. And I'm going to make sure that preview is on and we can see that my text is still visible so I can see any adjustments that I actually made. There's a lot of information here, but I'm just going to go through the basic character formats. This is where you can select your typeface. It's good if you have one in mind. I know that I like Baskerville Oldface, so I'm going to select that and it's changed the type that we can already see here in the preview. I'm going to make the size 12 point. I might even make it actually 13. No, actually I'm going to keep it at 12. I'm going to adjust the leading so it's a little bit tighter for the text, but I might adjust the tracking a little bit and make the text look a little bit wider and give it a little bit more breathing room. All right, there are other options here like advanced character formats. You can adjust the scale. You can actually stop hyphenation if you don't want any hyphens in your text. This can be a good way to avoid creating awkward looking things, but I will keep hyphenation on because that's how most people read. There's options to justify and there's other features that you can go through in your own time. But my advice, stick to the basic character formats and you'll get a good looking paragraph style. You then hit OK. So now you have paragraph style 1. You could actually change the name to that to be body text. And that's going to be the type that I use to create all my paragraphs. So I'm going to create another one on this second page here. I'm going to do the same thing where I create a long paragraph. I'm going to fill it with placeholder text. I'm going to adjust it so it goes the opposite way. So we're going to have 3 short paragraphs at the top of my page. You can see I've spilled over into my gutter here. So I'm going to adjust it so it actually is consistent across all 3 paragraphs, same width. So fantastic, cool. Now I've got those 3 paragraphs there. I'm going to highlight them all and I'm going to select body text and it automatically adjusts it from the default settings. So it's going to match this body text that I created here on my first page. And by doing and creating these kind of styles, it means that we can have the same typeface and same headings across our whole document with very little effort. So you take the time to create those and then you can just apply them to whatever text that you create across the page. The last thing I'm going to show you guys is how to add page numbers to your document. So what you'd need to do is you need to load up your pages, so window and pages, and this panel will pop up. We can see here there's a feature that says a master. I'm going to double click that and it's going to take us to a different document. These are our master pages. So basically how master pages work is whatever is going to be on these spreads will appear on every other page in your actual document. So if you decide to add a little typeface at the top that says your name, that'll then pop up on every single page you create. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw, using the type tool, a little square box here in the left corner. And I'm going to go to type. And there's an option that says insert special character. I'm then going to go to markers. And I'm going to select current page number. And it's not going to actually have a number. It's just going to say the letter A. And that's good. That's what you want to happen. I'm then going to do the same in the bottom right corner of this page. I'm going to go to type, insert special character, markers, and current page number. If we then go back to our document just by double clicking any page, we can see that it's applied page numbers to each page in our document in the exact same position on every page, and it just adjusts it as you add pages. So it's a really cool feature if you wanted to add page numbers. And if you're not happy with the position of the page numbers, you can always go back to your master and actually adjust them. You can change the opacity, you can change the typeface in here, and it'll adjust it across the entire document rather than you having to manually create them every single time. Okay. I don't want page numbers on my front or back page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click my front page here on the pages panel. I'm going to right click it, and there's an option that actually says override all master page items. So I'm going to click that, and that will allow me to then delete that page number off the first page, but it doesn't adjust the rest of the document. So that's good. So it keeps all the page numbers intact in order, but I just want to get rid of them on the front and back page because we don't have numbers on front and back pages of documents. Okay. So now that I've created these paragraph styles, I've got my page numbers and my character styles, I can actually go about creating the rest of my document however I see fit. In the next video, I'll show you guys how to add images into your document. It's a really cool process and it actually makes your document stand out.